Part 1, the original sin and the mandated transformation, the foundation of a shared life. It's meant to be the most solid, immutable thing in the universe. It should be unshakable, impervious to the trivial storms of the world. For Sarah and me, however, it was built on shifting sand, cemented with the hasty mortar of desperation, fear, and painfully conditional forgiveness. The fractures, the hidden, agonizing hairline cracks, they never truly healed. They merely lay dormant, waiting beneath the surface of shared meals, shared laughter with our children, and the perfect public image we maintained, waiting for the perfect moment of stress or weakness to shatter the entire structure into dust. This defining instability, this original sin, was mine. The year was 2017 when the first bomb I lit finally detonated. My affair. It was a lapse so catastrophic, so brief, and so selfish that it cost us years of peace and left a permanent, ragged scar across the face of our marriage. I can still recall the physical sensation of the moment the truth came out. The air left the room, leaving me gasping in a vacuum. The apartment was no longer a home. It became a bleak, suffocating courtroom where I stood condemned without a defense, staring into the face of a betrayal I authored. Sarah's voice, usually so filled with the grace and soaring passion of her gospel, was sharp, brittle, and terrifyingly final. You shattered it, Elias. Our vows, our entire future, our faith. You made a mockery of everything we built. Tell me, she demanded, her voice rising to a raw, ragged shriek. When you were with her, did she sing for you like this? Did she look at you with the absolute, blind love I did? Did you feel less empty, less flawed when you were lying me? Her pain was a palpable, crushing weight in the room. It was justified. I was pathetic, offering only stammering excuses, grasping at her arm only to have her wrench it away. She was already gone. She walked out, taking her suitcase, and with it, my very sense of direction, my reason for existing. She flew 2,000 kilometers away, vanishing into the protective, distant comfort of her father's life, a world where my lies couldn't reach her. I was left in a wreckage of self-loathing, deservedly drowning in the absolute silence of my isolation. Every empty hour of that apartment was a heavy, unbearable form of penance. I accepted the sentence. Then the agonizing, definitive pronouncement came. After 1 month of silence, the separation became a new, cruel reality. She started seeing someone else. 2 months later, the phone call arrived, a call I still replay in my mind, searching the static for a trace of the woman I loved, but finding only a stranger. Her voice was cold, professional, utterly disconnected from any intimacy we had shared. It was the voice of a final authority. Elias, I'm calling to tell you to move on. I'm going to be married. It's over between us. You can marry your partner. Don't contact me again. I wish you well. The line went dead. The click was the sound of a prison door slamming shut on my hope. That casual, almost cruel dismissal, it broke me completely. It was the moment my marriage officially died, but paradoxically offered a strange, cold freedom. I stopped begging for reconciliation and fully embraced the chaotic consequences of my mistakes. I reached out to my affair partner, deciding to build a life with the consequence of my actions. 4 months later, my affair partner was pregnant. The reality of a new child, not born of my marriage, was a bitter, confusing, yet inevitable truth. I was preparing to be a father again, alone, facing a future I had never intended. I was numb. I had lost the woman I loved, and in my reckless attempt to move on, I had created a new, complex life. I was preparing to be a father to a daughter who was a consequence, a result of the ultimate failure. I convinced myself that this was justice. This was the penance I had to pay. I would dedicate my life to this child, and perhaps, eventually, the numb feeling would subside. I started saving money, preparing a nursery, buying a smaller, more practical car. I was building a different life, a solitary, quiet one defined by responsibility. But the gravity of our connection was inescapable. Just as I was settling into this new, complicated, responsible existence, Sarah returned. Her new relationship had failed. She stood in my doorway, looking diminished, yet still possessing that overwhelming magnetic pull that had defined my life. The sight of my pregnant partner in the living room, quietly gathering her things, was a shock to Sarah. She whispered, You really did it, didn't you? You moved on. You created a new life, a consequence." In that moment, standing between the wreckage of my past and the faint, impossible hope of a future, I made the agonizing choice of my life. I ended the relationship with the mother of my soon-to-be-born daughter. In a staggering act of grace and maturity I still admire and respect her for, she asked me to raise the girl. She knew I needed to be with Sarah, and she gave me the ultimate freedom while ensuring our daughter would be loved. I agreed without hesitation. Sarah and I began again. We rebuilt our life from the ruins, forming a chaotic, non-traditional family, committed to raising 3 children, 2 eventually born of our union, 1 born of my mistake. All loved equally, all integrated into a life defined by the desperate need for a second chance. The past was forgiven in word, but in truth, it was merely tucked away, becoming the deep, unspoken tension that shadowed every quiet moment, a silent, ticking clock. I achieved perfection. I was aesthetically faultless. Yet, she wasn't looking at the object anymore. She had already moved on to a new source of fascination, a new object of desire. The problem was never my body. The problem was the chronic, unfillable hole in her own heart, the perpetual, restless need for external validation that transcended our shared commitment, our children, and our history. And my desperate efforts only provided her with better cover for the growing lie, giving her the perfect husband to point to while she sought excitement elsewhere. I was the fool who built the perfect, expensive cage for my own capture. I was losing her. Despite having due 6 years later, the fragile piece was shattered again. The year was 2024. The intervening years had been consumed by work. Sarah's career had soared. She was a major force in gospel music, performing to sold-out arenas. She was transcendent, beautiful, a true powerhouse of faith on stage. I was her anchor, her manager, the man who handled every mundane detail, contracts, travel, finances, childcare, logistics, so her artistic light could shine without obstruction. I sacrificed my own identity to maintain her world. The success, however, brought a new kind of darkness. After her album launch event, a triumphant, critical success, she collapsed into my arms backstage, not with the joy of accomplishment, but with crushing, devastating guilt that felt heavier than any trophy she could win. She was shaking violently, unable to look me in the eye. "Forgive me, Elias. Please forgive me. I have to tell you the truth. The burden is too heavy. I can't hold this secret anymore. I am going insane, living this beautiful lie." I held her tight, every nerve ending screaming a warning. I knew this was the end of the piece. The silence was over. "Sarah, honey, what is it? We swore to always tell each other the truth now. Just tell me everything, no matter how bad." She pulled back, her eyes tear-streaked, but absolutely resolute in her confession. The words were quiet, but they struck me with the force of a battering ram. I've developed feelings for another man. It's bad, Elias. So bad I've been wishing our marriage was over. I have been praying for an escape, for a way out of this gilded cage. The words cut deeper than any knife, delivered not in anger, but in sorrowful exhaustion. I felt the familiar, crippling pain of betrayal, but beneath it, a desperate, almost obsessive need to find a solution. I was the fixer. I had to fix this. I suppressed the rising panic, the urge to collapse. "Tell me everything. Who is he? What does he have that I don't? I'll change. I'll fix it. I promised you I would never fail you again. I will not fail this family, not again." She hesitated, her gaze drifting downward, focusing with agonizing clarity on my frame, the frame of a man who spent 18 hours a day working and folding laundry, not lifting weights. Her critique was delivered with the cold, professional tone of a CEO reviewing a failing department. He's neat. Always. His clothes, his body. He's fit, Elias. He looks like success, like progress. I know you've been busy prioritizing the business, the children's education, the financial security, but you've developed a little obesity. You've become comfortable. I need you to fix your body. Wear more attractive clothes. I need the man I married back, the man who cared about his presentation as much as his profits. I need the excitement back, Elias. I need more. I looked down at myself. The man who had sacrificed his self-care, his own identity, and his free time for the collective good of the family was now being judged by the superficial standards of a younger, unencumbered man. I felt reduced to a list of superficial physical flaws. I was not a husband. I was a failing project, a source of embarrassment. My love for her was not a choice. It was an unbreakable, debilitating compulsion. I heard her critique not as a cruel slight, but as a direct, actionable, terrifying roadmap to reconciliation. I would change my shape, my style, my very external identity. I would become the perfect picture she required to validate her own success and repress her guilt. I would not allow a physical imperfection, a few pounds gained during years of selfless work, to be the logical escape route she took. I made a solemn, silent vow that night. I will not lose her to a better-dressed, fitter man. I will dedicate myself to this transformation, even if it hollows me out. I will do whatever it takes to close this chasm. I had to become irresistible. The year that followed was a masterclass in self-torture and dedicated, punishing transformation. It was a blur of sweat, pain, and meticulous deprivation that consumed every free moment of my day, every scrap of energy I had left. My alarm clock became the sound of the gym opening at 5 a.m., long before the children woke. I subjected my body to grueling, relentless exercise, pushing myself past every rational limit. I lifted weights until my muscles screamed and shook, ran until my lungs ached with phantom pain, and tracked every calorie with the grim, manic obsession of a scientist obsessed with a singular narrow goal, perfection. The comfortable, excess weight melted away. My jawline sharpened, my posture straightened. I invested heavily in new, expensive, tailored clothes that fit my sharp, newly sculpted frame. I was reborn. I was the man she asked for. I looked in the mirror every morning, and the reflection was objectively perfect. I was lean, strong, and impeccably dressed. I had fulfilled the assignment, sacrificing my comfort, my sleep, and my emotional energy, all in a desperate attempt to buy back her attention. But the emotional void only deepened. My physical success did absolutely nothing to bridge the distance between us. Sarah barely seemed to notice. A fleeting, distracted compliment was all I received. She was consumed by work, always busy. Her schedule became impenetrable, her eyes perpetually fixed on her phone. Our communication was reduced to transactional, sterile updates, children's activities, tour scheduling, payment transfers. The passion was gone, replaced by a polite, exhausting professionalism. Everything she demanded. The fear became a constant low-grade fever. The anxiety in our house became a suffocating presence, a constant pressure on my chest. A new, palpable secrecy had taken root in Sarah's life. Whispered conversations were cut short with a sharp intake of breath the moment I enter room. Her phone was never resting openly. It was always clutched tight, face down, perpetually shielded from my view, like a vital organ. I recognized the cold, distant energy from 2017, but this time it was amplified by the profound, bitter injustice of it all. The inevitable breaking point arrived late one night. She was finally asleep, the phone resting beside her. My heart hammered against my ribs with a frantic, desperate rhythm, the sound of a man about to confirm his own execution. I reached for it, my hands steadying themselves with sheer force of will. I used our anniversary date, the universal password of our shared history, to unlock it. My hands trembled not from fear, but from the icy certainty of what I was about to confirm. I went straight to WhatsApp. I navigated to the hidden, archived chats. My blood ran cold, solidifying in my veins. The contact was Mark, her business partner, a successful married man. I had suspected, but the confirmation was a physical blow. I began scrolling through the dialogue. The betrayal was not a single moment. It was a slow, agonizing process. A month of a clandestine emotional and physical relationship unfolded in excruciating detail across 2 weeks of intense texts. Every word was a knife plunging deeper. Sarah, text he is so boring and settled. You are the one who truly inspires me. You are brilliant, you are going places. And that body, you look absolutely incredible in that suit. I can't stop thinking about you. I feel trapped here, Mark. I feel like my wings are clipped. Mark, text you are my muse. My heart races when I see your name light up. I dream about the life we could have, the power we would wield together in the industry. Dinner next Thursday? Somewhere discreet, outside the usual circuit. We need more time. I need you. I need your fire. The messages detailed stolen dinners, long lunches, and a shared fantasy world built on the destruction of 2 marriages. I hit the message that truly shattered my remaining composure. Sarah, text how did you feel about that kiss? I felt so emotional. It was overwhelming, like I was finally alive, finally free. We need to meet somewhere private, a secret place. And do it. I can't wait anymore. I need you, Mark. I need to be reckless. Mark, text I'm ready. Say the word. I can meet you when your husband is traveling. We'll make it unforgettable. It will be worth the risk. I'll take care of everything. They had meticulously planned to meet while I was away, but the travel plans had been canceled. This was my curse and my only chance. The meeting was rescheduled for the most sacred time of our week. Sarah, text okay, new plan. Sunday after church service. I'll tell Elias I have a final rehearsal/business meeting. Meet me at the usual spot. We have to be meticulous about covering our tracks. I placed the phone back, my body rigid, my soul evacuated. I was physically honed, perfect, but inside I was utterly disintegrated. I couldn't rely on confrontation. She would lie. She would deny. I needed undeniable, absolute clarity for the end. I quietly installed a sophisticated spy app, one that could access the phone's camera and microphone remotely. I became the unseen, agonizing witness to the death of my life. I was going to watch my world burn down. Part 2, The Unseen Witness and the Day of a Lie. The installation of the spy app was the coldest, most clinical act of my life. It was a complete surrender of my role as a trusting husband and a final embrace of my new role as the unseen observer, the silent witness to my own demise. I spent the rest of that night in a state of hyper-awareness, watching the clock tick toward Sunday. Every minute was a drop of acid burning through my composure. I didn't sleep. Sleep was a luxury I could no longer afford. My mind was a relentless courtroom, replaying every moment of our past, judging every word of our texts, and constructing every detail of the future I was about to lose. I meticulously maintained the facade. The next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, were an agonizing performance. I went to work discussing budgets and contracts with the focus of a man under siege. I smiled at the children, helping them with homework, and listening to their stories with a distant, automatic affection. I kissed Sarah good morning, tasting the lie on her lips, feeling the guilt radiating from her like a physical heat. She was unnaturally cheerful, overly attentive, trying to compensate for the massive, invisible secret she carried. Her false cheer only solidified my certainty. She was trying too hard. She was trying to build a fortress of normalcy around her secret, but I was already inside the walls. I knew where they planned to meet. I knew the lies she would tell me. The only thing I didn't know was the precise, agonizing choreography of their betrayal. I needed to see it. I needed the visual proof, the undeniable evidence, not for confrontation, but for the clarity of my own escape. I had to watch my world burn down, so I could walk away from the ashes with absolute certainty. The emotional pain was so great, it looped back into numbness. I was waiting for the final blow to confirm my death. Sunday arrived, clothed in deceptive sunshine. It was the most sacred day of our week, the day Sarah led worship. The irony was a bitter metallic taste in my mouth. She was scheduled to lead the service, preach redemption, and then drive off to plan her destruction. I arranged to be away, a crucial long-distance business call. I lied smoothly, ensuring I had hours of uninterrupted surveillance time. I drove to a quiet, secluded park overlooking the city, parking beneath the heavy shade of a sprawling oak. My phone, plugged into a power bank, became the portal to my final reality. The screen flickered to life. The view was slightly obstructed, but clear enough. I saw the familiar, sun-drenched parking lot of the massive church where Sarah performed. I watched her exit the building, radiant in her Sunday best, a white suit impeccably tailored, symbolic of the purity she preached. She carried the glow of the morning's worship, the spiritual high still visible on her face. She walked with a noticeable lightness, almost a buoyancy, not toward our car, but toward a sleek black motorcycle. It was parked discreetly near the back lot, deliberately out of sight of the main entrance. Standing beside it was Mark, looking exactly as she had described. Immaculate, perfectly dressed in designer jeans and a fitted leather jacket, the physical manifestation of the fleeting excitement and progress she craved. He looked dangerous, polished, and utterly devoid of the stress that defined my life. The exchange was instantaneous, a spark igniting dry tinder. Mark removed his helmet, his eyes locked onto hers with an intimacy that was stolen, powerful, and utterly forbidden. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. He stepped forward, cupped Sarah's face in his hands that should have been tending to his own wife, and initiated a long, passionate, romantic kiss. I watched mute and immobile across miles of distance. The pain was so sharp, so complete, that it circled back into a strange, detached calm. This was not a quick, fumbled peck of illicit guilt. It was an affirmation of a shared, forbidden world, a kiss that spoke of deep, mutual desire and total commitment. My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug deep, painful crescents into my palms. I could feel the leather of my own steering wheel beneath my grip, the only anchor I had. I watched the spectacle of my own life being torn apart in the church parking lot. They pulled apart, but only slightly. Their eyes were locked, their breathing shallow. They then fell into a long, agonizing embrace, a hug that was not a greeting, but a reunion. They stayed that way for 30 minutes. I kept the recording running, forcing myself to witness every single second. Every minute of that embrace was a decade of shared life being erased. It was an intimacy that suffocated me. It was the physical proof that I had been replaced, not by a mistake, but by a deliberate, calculated, and deeply desired choice. What were they saying? Were they planning their next meeting? Were they laughing at the husband, the idiot who had sculpted his body and bought new suits, only to be betrayed by a man on a motorcycle? I forced myself to zoom in, to study her face. She was smiling, radiant, a look of unburdened freedom I hadn't seen on her face in years. It was the face of a woman who had finally found the release she was looking for, a release she couldn't find in the hard, complicated work of our marriage. The realization hit me. She didn't just want him, she wanted the simple, easy version of herself he allowed her to be. The agonizing ritual of concealment followed. Mark helped Sarah onto the back of the bike. He gently fitted the helmet over her perfect hair. They roared off, leaving the sanctified ground behind. The surveillance continued. The app tracked them. The feed showed the discreet drop-off, a block from our house, far enough to avoid detection, close enough for a quick walk. Mark gently helped Sarah off. A final, lingering touch of hands, a touch filled with ownership and longing. She adjusted her dress, smoothed her hair, and began the final walk home, the perfect picture of a devoted wife returning from her ministry duties. The calculated audacity of the hypocrisy was the final, sickening blow. That evening, Sarah was home. She was unnaturally cheerful, bustling around the kitchen, humming a tune of false contentment. She was performing for me, trying to overcompensate for the depth of her deception. Then she initiated the final, desperate act of emotional manipulation. She was trying to create a narrative rift to make me the justification for her actions. She stood across the counter from me, her voice hard and critical. "You know, Elias, I don't understand your lifestyle. We're not progressing fast enough. You're too comfortable. The new car, the house, it's all too slow. We should be bigger, better. You're settling for mediocrity, and I can't stay still. I feel like I'm drowning in routine." She was attempting to make me the obstacle, the limiting factor, the villain, thereby justifying her infidelity in her own mind. She was building her defense case right there in the kitchen. I was operating on zero sleep, pure adrenaline, and an absolute paralyzing sense of injustice. I looked at her, seeing both the woman I loved and the cold, calculating stranger who had just kissed another man on holy ground. "Sarah, stop," I said, my voice dangerously level, devoid of any visible anger. "Look at where we came from. Nothing. We started with nothing. Now, a fully paid house, a reliable car, 3 children in an international school. We've come so far. That is solid, responsible, and secure progress. We built this stability so you could pursue your dream without financial worry. Why are you doing this? What is actually missing inside you?" "Far is not fast enough," she hissed, her eyes hard and restless, betraying the deeper dissatisfaction. "It's not about money, Elias. It's about ambition. It's about being seen as a power couple, not just a stable one. You lack fire." I couldn't argue. I knew the truth now. The lie was monumental. She wasn't seeking progress. She was seeking excitement and easy validation. That night, I was awake, trapped in a house that felt like a glass cage, watching my own soul dissolve. The pain was a living entity clawing at my insides, consuming the very space where my hope used to reside. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. The next day, Monday, this was the scheduled day for the final physical betrayal in the secret place. I was making coffee, feeling detached, waiting for her to leave or waiting for her to break. Sarah walked into the kitchen. She stopped. The internal tension, the weight of her guilt combined with the fear of discovery had finally overwhelmed her. She was shaking violently, unable to hold herself together. She dissolved into tears, collapsing against the counter, her whole body convulsing with suppressed sobs. "Elias, stop. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this lie. I saw him again yesterday. We met. We kissed. It was going to be more tonight. I've been torturing myself. I'm so sorry. I'm so weak. Forgive me." She confessed everything, but she was still holding back the fact of the meeting place, the fact of the full plan. She wanted my forgiveness without the full accountability. I put down a mug. My voice was a low, hollow echo of the man she thought she was confessing to. "I know." She stared at me, the confusion in her face quickly melting into abject terror. "You know? What do you mean? How much do you know?" I walked to the kitchen island, pulled out my phone, and showed her the scrolling text messages, the explicit details of the last month, the plan for that very evening. "I saw the texts, Sarah. All of them. The secret meeting plans. The kiss. The secret place you were planning for tonight. I know everything. I saw it all. I know what you did on church grounds yesterday." Sarah's face went utterly, sickeningly white. The realization that her entire secret life had been transparent, that her confession was redundant, was more shattering than the affair itself. She fell to her knees, pleading, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Elias, it meant nothing. It was only 1 month. I swear. I'll quit my job. I'll block him. I'll do anything. Please, please forgive me. I don't want to lose the children. I don't want to lose the respect of the church." I looked down at her. The woman who had demanded my absolute ruin and penance years ago now begged for my mercy. I took a deep, shuddering breath. "I forgive you, Sarah." The words were heavy, a devastating, colossal weight of unconditional, albeit painful, acceptance. I forgave the act of infidelity, but the forgiveness was the knife twisting in my own soul, a permanent, self-inflicted wound. "Why, Sarah? I changed for you. I became the man you asked for. I got fit, I dressed well, I managed everything perfectly. Why him? What did I miss this time after all that effort? He saw me. He showed me small, romantic signs. She sobbed, grasping at my legs. He cared for me. He made me feel noticed, not just for the ministry, not just as a mother, but as a desirable woman. It led to the kiss. It led to the start of it. I felt, seeing Elias, you were too busy being my manager, my stability, my financial foundation, and I needed to feel like I was worth chasing again, worth the excitement. 1 month of illicit desire had somehow, impossibly, built a stronger emotional bond than a decade of shared parenthood in crisis. It broke me, utterly. She quit her job with Mark and broke off all contact. I committed to helping her, increasing my care and attention to fill the void. But the pain continued. I caught her checking Mark's WhatsApp status. She still talked about the moments they shared, oblivious to the fact that every word was another splinter in my heart. I was living on a razor's edge of fear, the fear that this cycle would never end. Part 3, the cold calculus of departure and the traumatic return. The month that followed Sarah's tearful confession was an exhausting exercise in emotional maintenance. She had fulfilled the technical requirements of repentance. She quit her job with Mark and broke off all digital and professional contact. I, in turn, dedicated myself to filling the void, increasing my care and attention to the point of self-abnegation. I was trying to outrun the betrayal, to smother the memories of the motorcycle kiss with relentless, focused love. But the marriage was an engine running on sand. The external crisis had ended, but the internal war for my soul was just beginning. I had forgiven the act of infidelity, but I could not eradicate the deep, bone-weary mistrust. The fear became my shadow, my constant companion. Every time she looked away, every time she picked up her phone to check the time, my heart seized. My mind, now permanently scarred by the surveillance, was convinced the cycle was already restarting. The reality of my situation was simple. I was trying to save a woman who refused to stop looking for an exit sign. My efforts to care for her were only increasing her sense of entitlement and my own pain. I was living on a razor's edge. I would catch her checking Mark's WhatsApp status. Just a quick, furtive glance, but it confirmed everything. She was looking back. She still talked about the moments they shared, the intellectual connection, the excitement, the ease, oblivious to the fact that every word was another splinter tearing into my heart. She had replaced the secret life of texts with a new secret life of memory. She was in mourning for the affair, and I was expected to comfort her through it. I was drowning. My pain was secondary to her regret. I was not a husband, I was a lifeboat, and I realized with devastating clarity that if I didn't let go, she would sink us both. I had to choose my own survival. The decision to leave was not born of anger, but of cold, surgical necessity. I had to save myself from the chronic, soul-crushing fear. The mistrust was a cancer that had metastasized throughout my entire system. I meticulously planned my departure. I waited until the children were safely at school, absorbed in their studies, unaware of the silent, agonizing divorce taking place in their home. I moved through the house with the focus of a man clearing a battlefield. I packed only my personal belongings, my clothes, my files, the things that were solely mine. I was careful to leave every item related to the children and the home, their books, their toys, the family photographs, a clear message that my commitment to them was unwavering. I sat down and composed a final, agonizing text message, deleting and rewriting it countless times, trying to convey the depth of my despair without being accusatory. I can't do this anymore, Sarah. I cannot live with the chronic, agonizing fear that you will cheat again. I need to be safe. I'm leaving to find peace. I will continue to pay for the kids' school fees, all the bills, everything they need. My financial commitment remains absolute, but I need to be alone. This is for my own survival. I can no longer watch you, and I can no longer live like this. I scheduled the message to send after I was gone. Then I drove away, putting miles between us, heading toward a small, sterile apartment I had rented hours before. It was a space defined by nothing but silence and emptiness, precisely what I needed. My final, desperate act was born of my lingering addiction to her pain. I activated the spy app one last time. I needed to witness the finality, to ensure she understood the gravity of her choices. I needed to see her reaction, not to be lured back, but to solidify my resolve. I watched her wake up. She saw the empty side of the bed, the missing drawer contents. She read the text. Initially confusion. Then a chilling understanding washed over her face. She found the series of voice notes I'd left, recordings detailing my profound, agonizing pain, my fear, and the absolute finality of my decision to walk away. The tears began. These were not the controlled, performative tears of confession. These were deep, catastrophic sobs of true, terrified abandonment. She ran through the house, screaming, "God, bring him back. I can't live without him. Please, Elias. I can't do this alone." She was lost, not just without her husband, but without her manager, her financier, her shield. I watched her for 2 agonizing hours. She was a wreck. She was sending me desperate voice notes, begging, pleading, detailing how much she loved me and how much she needed me. I watched unmoved, forcing myself to accept her pain as the necessary price for my freedom. This was the consequence of her choices. I was finally free. I could finally breathe. She called her sister, hysterical, demanding that she track me down. Her sister reported back. My phone was offline. Sarah continued to weep, her panic escalating into uncontrolled hysteria. She began running, crashing into walls, searching every room for a sign of my return. Then the scene shifted. The camera showed her in the kitchen. She moved with a strange, quiet, terrible resolve that froze my blood. She opened a drawer. A knife. She opened the medicine cabinet. Pills. Lots of them, scattered across the counter. The movement was deliberate, calm, terrifyingly final. I recoiled from the screen. This was no longer drama. It was an emergency. The surveillance had turned into a direct threat to her life. This was not the end I wanted. This was not justice. This was tragedy. My pursuit of self-preservation had led to the brink of her self-destruction. I grabbed my phone, my body shaking violently. I dialed her number, screaming into the receiver, my voice raw and broken. "Sarah, put it down. Stop. I'm coming home. Don't do this." I slammed the phone down and raced back, the sheer panic for her life overriding every rational self-protective decision I had made. The fear for her life was greater than the pain of her betrayal. I was trapped by my love, my loyalty, and my permanent role as the father of her children. I was permanently bound to her emotional chaos. I returned to find Sarah sitting on the floor, the knife and pills scattered away from her face pale and swollen with tears. She was alive. I held her, not as a lover, but as someone holding a fragile, damaged thing that was perpetually on the verge of shattering. "I'm here. I'm back. I came back for you." "Why did you come back, Elias? After everything I did after you left?" She whispered, her voice raw with exhaustion. "Because I may not trust you, Sarah, but I love you. And I can't let you do this to yourself. We have 3 children who need their mother." I said, the lie about the children being the sole reason already forming on my tongue. "I am staying for them, and for the part of you I still remember and cherish." The cycle of betrayal, forgiveness, and codependence, punctuated by existential fear, had been cemented as our permanent shared reality. The crisis passed, and the quiet war for our mental survival began. I initiated the final raw conversation, the one that went to the core sickness of our dynamic. I forced her to confront the ugly truth of her motives. "Why, Sarah? That day I left, why did you fall apart? Was it pure, selfless regret for the affair? Or was it crippling fear of losing the structure? Fear of being alone and professionally exposed?" Her silence was agonizing, but the answer, when it finally came, was the coldest, ugliest truth I'd ever heard, stripped bare of any romance. "All of it, Elias. All of it. The shame of the affair was crushing, yes. But when you left, it wasn't just my husband I lost. It was my manager, my financial planner, my shield. I realized in that moment I was powerful on stage, but I was utterly dependent on you to manage the ground beneath my feet, to handle the reality of life. And that dependence, when combined with the shame, it was too much. I was so focused on what Mark offered, instant excitement, progress, that I forgot what you built. You built a solid, protective wall around us, Elias. And when you walked away, the wall vanished. I was left alone with my own choices, and they were terrifying. I am terrified of myself. You didn't just cheat on me, Sarah, I said, my voice low and firm. You tried to replace your security with excitement. We are trauma bonded. We are done with running away. I am going to sleep in the guest room tonight. Not because I'm leaving you forever, but because I need to start building my own wall again, separate from yours. I am not your shield, Sarah. I am your partner. We are going to live in this house. We are going to raise our children. And you are going to rebuild your life brick by brick right beside me. But you have to do the work. The cheating stops. The drama stops. The suicidal threats stop. We are done with running away. This is our new, terrible contract. Coexistence based on necessity, not unconditional trust. I left the room. I lost the blind trust one had in my wife forever. I lost the ability to sleep soundly. I gained a new, bitter appreciation for my own strength, for my resolve to keep my children whole. The wound is deep, infected with doubt, and it may never fully heal. But we are moving forward, one agonizing, cautious step at a time. The quiet war for our marriage has begun, and in that perpetual, ongoing fight, in the refusal to surrender to despair, perhaps there's a form of hard-won, devastating justice for us both. Part 4, the cold calculus of coexistence and the unending war. The air in the house was thick, cold, and absolute. My dramatic return, the act that saved Sarah's life, had simultaneously murdered my last vestiges of hope and unconditional love. I was back, but I was not her husband. I was the anchor, the reluctant presence committed solely to preventing her self-destruction and maintaining the family structure. I was the father who refused to let his children endure the trauma of their mother's collapse. I immediately abandoned the master bedroom for the sterile, unused space of the guest room. This separation was not a punishment for her. It was a quarantine for me. I needed to start building my own wall again, separate from hers, to protect the last remaining pieces of my sanity. The large, empty bed became my new reality, a symbol of the chasm that separated us, a physical representation of the emotional distance I could no longer bridge. Our interactions became governed by a cold calculus. They were entirely transactional, centered exclusively on the logistics of the 3 children and the maintenance of the public image. We spoke about school schedules, grocery lists, and Sarah's tentative return to her ministry work, but never about trust, never about passion, and certainly never about the future we had once dreamed of. My surveillance of her phone had ended the night I raced back, but the surveillance had only moved into my own brain. I was condemned to live in perpetual doubt. Every time she looked away, every time she checked a notification, my internal alarm bell went off. I would watch her on the stage, singing of redemption and grace, and all I would see was the woman in the church parking lot, locked in a forbidden embrace. The grace she preached was reserved for everyone but the man she married. I knew that I loved her, a painful, debilitating love, but I trusted the ceiling more than I trusted her word. The weeks bled into months, defined by a terrifying, tense predictability. Sarah was desperate to prove her worth, not to me, but to the restored structure. She left her phone unlocked and face up on the counter, a constant, silent offering of transparency. She asked for my permission to go anywhere, do anything, yet when she tried to speak about love, I simply shut her down, telling her to stop swearing on sacred things and to just be predictable. I explained that trust wasn't a gift you ask for. It was a foundation she had to rebuild brick by painstaking brick, and right now, the ground beneath us was quicksand. She had to accept that she had broken me beyond immediate repair. The deepest and final conversation occurred one evening when the children were asleep. It was the conversation that solidified the cold calculus of coexistence. It was devastatingly clinical. I demanded to know the full truth about her motivation. That day I left. Was it pure, selfless regret, or was it crippling fear of losing the security? After an agonizing silence, she finally confessed the coldest, ugliest truth. It was the fear. She admitted that when I left, she didn't just lose her husband, she lost her manager, her financial planner, her shield. She realized she was utterly dependent on me to manage the ground beneath her feet. The fear of that exposure, combined with the shame, was too much, leading her to the brink. I absorbed the final necessary blow. I told her plainly that she hadn't just cheated on me, she had tried to replace her security with excitement. I stated that we were no longer bonded by romantic love, we were trauma bonded, held together by a mutual history of betrayal and the shared necessity of raising our children. I would never leave her exposed to ruin, but I would never again be her shield. I explained that she had to accept that I forgave the act, but I would never again trust the intent. She would spend the rest of her life proving herself. I delivered the final instruction, the new contract for our life. I told her we would live in this house, we would raise our children, and she would rebuild her life brick by brick right beside me. But she had to do the work. The cheating stops. The drama stops. The threats stop. That was our contract, and I would hold her to it. I left the room, the door closing on the finality of our terrible arrangement. I lost the blind trust one had in my wife forever. I lost the ability to sleep soundly. I gained a new, bitter appreciation for my own strength, for my resolve to keep my children whole. The marriage was not saved, it was resurrected into a colder, more functional form. The wound is deep, infected with doubt, and it may never fully heal. But we are moving forward, one agonizing, cautious step at a time. The quiet war for our mental survival has begun. And in that perpetual, ongoing fight, in the refusal to surrender to despair, perhaps there is a form of hard-won, devastating justice for us both. We are together, but forever apart, bound by children and consequence.